Hi, I'm Johannes Gurs. I'm a psychotherapist and an author of a self-help book that I've been referring to every so often called Standing Up for Yourself, The Art of Self-Assertion. Presenting different videos from sexuality to self-assertion. Today I want to speak very briefly about homosexuality. All I can present are theories and observations about behavior, things I've heard, and individuals that I've worked with whose issues with their parents have led me to believe what most gay folks don't believe is that homosexuality is created from parental stresses. This is my opinion, that we are not born homosexual. Yes, we can swing in either direction as bi, but I hate to sound archaic, but I think whatever is between your legs determines probably the direction you're most comfortable to go. Now, like I said, I'm not here to criticize or to convert anybody. I want to speak about some issues regarding homosexuality that for somebody who is questioning the choices that they have made, maybe I can say something that will make them think again about what they are doing with their bodies and determine to either confirm that what they're doing is really good for them or maybe not so appropriate for them. So let me just, uh, let's put it this way. Does a very feminine man who's married to a very masculine woman, is he really straight? It's something to ponder. We can camouflage our deepest feelings, our deepest fears in a socially appropriate manner, but do we act out in other ways some of our deeper feelings? And again, the unconscious is a very scary, frightening place to try to delve into because we don't know what's lying in there that we have put away in terms of our feelings. So let me just give a couple of examples of some folks. I worked with a lady many years ago. I'll call her Cynthia. She came from a very sort of success generated family. Father was high ranking military, mother was a successful executive. They had promoted the notion that high achievement would be greatly rewarded. This was a need for Cynthia to maintain. Now, she had maintained a relationship, married actually the person, a woman, who was very sort of butchy, shall we say. And one day I noticed during an awards meeting, her partner had arrived and her father was in the audience also. And he was seated about 2 rows from the front. And he was kind of a rugged dude. And he was sitting in a very masculine kind of stud-like position. His manner was very focused, very serious. 2 rows up ahead was Cynthia's wife, husband, whatever. I don't remember how she alluded to the individual, but the person looked and behaved exactly like Cynthia's father. Now, the coworker who was attending this meeting with me kind of nudged me and said, do you see what I see? It looked as though Cynthia basically had connected and married her father. I mean, this is, again, it was interesting. That's all I can say. I don't know if Cynthia had ever had a heterosexual relationship, whether she even wanted to. Another episode that I think is worth mentioning is a young man who had a physically, say, male body, so to speak, but he had a very pretty face. He looked like the actress Michelle Pfeiffer. Now, I would learn from students where I was teaching that this young man was smitten by a lesbian. So, what he was going to do was take hormone treatment in order to become a woman so she, this other lady, would be attracted to him. I thought that was pretty scary, but who's to say this is a choice that at that time this young man was aiming. Now, where I was living, where I was teaching at the time, we were across from a park, and it was summer. Um, and let me see, there's something okay here now. It was summer, and the guy was had his t-shirt all rolled up, real cool and mannish. He walked across the street, but the way he strutted was kind of like a really like fuck you, okay? I'll jaywalk if I feel like it. And I thought to myself, you may end up with the biggest breasts in the universe, but deep down, honey, your soul is male. I don't know what happened to this person, but it was a very disturbing and, yes, interesting situation, because here was somebody in tremendous conflict. Now, I have some theories. I saw a young woman on the train actually just a few days ago. She was dressed from top to bottom as though she were a young executive male. She had on a three-piece suit. She had the tie. She had the Cole Haan shoes. And her hair was cropped almost like an altar boy, in a sense. She looked kind of like a caricature is sort of a fancy word for like cartoony. She looked like a caricature of a young man. Her face was soft. She had very soft skin. Her features were delicate. And I thought to myself, these are some of the questions that I pose. Now, did she become basically the boy the family really wanted? Another question I pondered was, did she have a mother who was sexually competitive with her and kind of intimidated this young woman growing up? Sort of like, did that young woman, who I assume was quite gay, learn to hate her own body, not because it was her body, but it reminded her of her mother, who she may have actually hated for this kind of behavior. It's very, very complex, homosexual situations. Just bear in mind, a competitive mother is still basically a rejecting mother. Now, I spoke with quite a few young men over the years, and older men also, known personally and professionally. A lot of men have said that they feared their father. Now, my question would become, it's a big question. Does a man who is missing the father's affection or communication, will he connect with another man really to try to connect to the father who is no longer either available or never was available? This is all theory. That's all I'm presenting here. Um, you know, let me go back to the man. Did the mother treat her son as though he was her boyfriend? That could also make the young man feel repelled by a woman's body and find comfort in turning to another man. It's like I said, it continues to become very complex. Um, the bottom line still is, gay or straight, a dysfunctional family still presents issues. Whether we're looking at drugs in the family, whether we're looking at a lot of fighting, or whether we're looking at apathy, say indifference, mother, dad working, don't really have time to take care of their child's needs. Is that young man or young woman so hungry for that affection, that love, that for some reason they are looking at the situation in the family and finding some sense of comfort in believing somebody else out there who's like me physically may also be like me spiritually, and I can connect to that person. Um, it's really all about how you perceive whatever it is that you have actually experienced. So, you'll always have the need for love, for acceptance, for approval. Um, the intensity of those losses that you underwent as a child will definitely drive you. Now, you want to ask yourself then, um, who was or who is, say, the most threatening parent? You want to ask yourself, whose love was never really given, either verbally and or physically? And are you finding that parent unconsciously in a gay relationship? This is the kind of information that I'm only presenting. I presented such questions through the years to individuals who have been gay. A couple of folks did shift gears. A couple of folks are still staying in their relationships. They're trying to communicate better with their partner. Um, One young woman actually ended up joining a nunnery, so I don't know what that triggered. Um, as a clinician, I don't tell individuals what to do. I try to do like I'm doing right now, offer some questions, offer some comments, again, created from observations and theories. You make your own decision about how happy you are. And the bottom line still is, if you are content behaving as you do, and you are happy or satisfied, shall I say, with your relationship, with your gay partner, that basically is all that matters. Like I said, I'm not trying to convert or criticize. We all make choices. I just am trying to reach out to the person whose happiness has eluded them, even though they may be have been with somebody for several years. Happiness is elusive because it can be short lived. And the next video I'm going to talk about next week is about love, and that's as complex, of course, as sexuality. So the question will be in that situation, what could be taking place now? Do I love my partner because I need him or her? Or do I need my partner because I love him or her? Love and need are very complex. And we have to first start with self love. But if, like I said about the young woman, if she has found her own body repulsive and would prefer to be a man or a boy, then she's got issues that relate to herself and her perception of her own body. And it has to also be looked at in relation to the parent of the same sex. This is the complexity because we have to go back to those negative feelings that I had spoken about in day one, that the fundamental right, our right to anger, our right to pleasure, and the right to at least acknowledge negative feelings, even if we never express them. But this is where guilt, fear, and shame interfere with our ability to actually own and or express those kinds of strong negative feelings. So are they bottled up? Are they staying inside congested? And finding, I don't want to use the word perverse. I don't think homosexuality is perverse. But is it taking like a different route? That is that route really what the individual is wanting from his or her life? Only you know. And this is where it gets tricky because if you have never questioned your own sexuality or your own direction through the early years, is it better not to start to question what you may have been doing for the last, say, 20 years or so? It's never too late to re examine. Talk with your partner also, if possible, and find out more about his or her perception of you. That can also make for very interesting conversation. So I'm going to wind down right now. But again, remember, it's perception, your perception of what you may have missed from the parent of the same sex. That's the critical question. Are you looking, is it the man looking for the father who has never been there? And is the woman looking for the mother who was never there, but finding it in another woman? Finding the mother in her partner, finding the father in his partner. Food for thought. Check with you next week. Bye.